Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of the Mastery Unleashed podcast. I am Christie Ruffino, the host of the show, and I want to thank you for joining us today. If you're brand new, you are in for a special treat. And if you've been to our show a few times in the past and you're a longtime loyal listener, I just want to thank you. It's an audience like you and listeners like you that we keep motivated to bring on amazing guests like today's guest. Vasu Tolia. So, welcome, Vasu.
Thank you, Christy. I'm honored to be on your podcast.
Yeah, I am really glad to have you. We met, oh my gosh, it's probably been about 6 or 7 months ago. And we connected. And when I learned about what you do and I learned about your story, I was just amazed. In the audience, you're going to learn a little bit about Vasu in a moment as well. But you did a pivot in your life, and you are in a place now that you feel very passionate about art. And I'm a creative person, so I get it, but I am not brave like you to leave my career and kind of jump into that space, but you have. And I want you to have a moment to share really how that all came together.
Okay. Well, uh, I'm a pediatric gastroenterologist, and I was full time in academic research career, seeing patients and mentoring my fellows and students and residents and teaching all the time. Then came a time in my life that I felt that I needed to move away from what I'm doing because of changes that were happening at the hospital and in administration. And my work as a physician has given me a deep insight into human resilience and suffering. But at this point in my career, I felt drawn to explore other ways to continue healing. And ultimately, I found art as a new form of expression. So my shift from medicine to art has been not a totally abrupt change because I wanted to continue to have a life with purpose. So I started it as a hobby, and it has evolved into a passion because I realized as I was doing it that just like in medicine, art has power to heal, provide comfort, and to inspire hope. So, although medicine has been the foundation of my life, after spending decades as a pediatric gastroenterology, um, I, in this retirement phase, I'm very glad that I have stepped into another life of purpose. After trying a few hobbies, now art has sort of become my another life and another career. It allows me to express concepts that I couldn't necessarily capture through medicine or even by writing, because I write a lot too. It's become a new language for me and a visual expression and representation of emotions, healing, and human connections. So it has become a serious second career, and it allows me to continue helping people because through my art, I have connected with several charity organizations, and I um, donate a part of the sales from my website to the charity of the choice that the customer wants. And this gives me a tremendous fulfillment. And I'm very happy to be able to do that.
Yeah, so your one of your art pieces was featured on a pretty important magazine at some point. You want to talk about that?
Sure. Um, my art has been featured in other magazines too, which are related to art. But the most important a feather in my cap, I would say, is when CDC approached me to use one of my COVID paintings for the cover of their Journal of Emerging Infectious Diseases. And this painting was made during COVID times.
Mhm.
And I had made it in response to a call from Washington Post about COVID art, and it got cited as top 20 in the nation. But when CDC called me and told me that out of the thousands of paintings they reviewed for the cover of this journal, they chose my art, I was really gratified and honored. It was such an awesome moment to be able to told that.
Oh my gosh, I bet it was. And that's something that I don't believe you even shared with us. I just saw one of your posts somewhere online and I'm like, Vasu, that is just so incredible. You know, we're meeting every month or twice a month with a team of authors to help you all share your stories. And I don't think you once mentioned it to them at all. And that is definitely, like you said, a feather in your cap that you should be very, very proud of and share with everybody.
Yeah. No, I am. But Christy, I come from a culture where you don't usually brag about yourself.
Yeah.
So, that kind of has stayed with me, although I know that to make your presence felt in any kind of field, unless you tell what you're about, people don't know or understand.
Absolutely. It's like the marketing 101. The louder we can shout, the more people that can hear us, the more people we can eventually help. And so spreading the word is important. But I get it as an introvert. That was a huge challenge for me initially when I got on this career path, you want to say. But the more people that know about your art, the more people you can help. So just get over that, girl.
Yes, I'm learning, Christy. I'm learning fast.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's like a question I was going to ask you because your cultural heritage kind of played into this in some way with your
Yeah,
artistic skills and your marketing and just your current mission. So you want to talk a little bit about that?
sure. I feel very passionate about empowering women and gender equality. And I actually have had a couple of shows just on a woman's journey where I have showed paintings with a woman or a girl, like starting right as from daughter, sister, uh, girlfriend, wife, a career person, entrepreneur, everything. I had 24 paintings in that show.
Mm,
Then 2 years ago, I had another show, and I was inspired to call it I'm Every Woman, and inspired by the song from Chaka Khan in 1960,
okay.
70 actually. And there I showed women in defiant, confident women, and I will and preserving nature and protecting the planet is also one of my missions. So I glorify nature as a woman. I depict, personalize Mother Earth as a woman because the name of my name, the meaning in Sanskrit is earth. My full name is Vasundhara, which means earth in Sanskrit. And so I feel very passionate about making art, that helps with the concept of preserving the planet. And I feel everybody has to do every little bit they can to make it work and uh, protect our planet so that, people, our future generation can live peacefully. My other purposeful passions are, of course, medical research,
Mm,
uh, raising awareness about mental health illnesses or mental illnesses, and helping kids with autism.
mm,
So I'm attached with these kinds of charities. So Lift Up the Vulnerable is the one with women in Sudan and children who are really suffering a lot. And I'm always looking for other purposes, if somebody wants to align with me, and I'm ready to reach out and give another helping hand.
oh, that's so great. Yeah. I get it when we have a passion or a cause that we relate to. It just kind of fuels our fire to continue to do good so we can support that charity.
Yes.
So you have a very clinical medical background, and from what you've shared with me already, there's science involved with your and art, with your paintings and art, and how it really helps people on their healing journey or just their journey in general. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Sure. As I have discovered and researched more into how art can affect the brain and how it helped me to calm down as I made with career transition, because um, Chrissy, to getting from the top of your career as a position in a tenured professor to becoming an unknown artist, it was a
Big
huge change
adjustment.
in my life.
Yeah.
So I had to start from scratch. I had to go through the learning curve as I transitioned into this new second career. I took classes, I taught myself, and here again, I had no mentor. And but there wasn't any specific moment when I felt I finally mastered a skill or a technique, because I feel that this, like medicine, also a phase of evolution, and I'm constantly evolving and learning new things. So I don't feel static that this is it, this is all I want to do, because I'm always interested in seeing art by others also, and it's quite inspiring sometimes to see beautiful pieces of art, and you wish you could learn that technique and try and adopt it, not copy what others are doing, but to try and assimilate it in your um,
Your style.
yes, exactly, you got me. So doing all these creative processes, it ends up transforming my process and art that I create. um, I use themes like I you can't but help respond to current events and situations and things like that. Although I'm trying to lean more towards abstraction than representational art at present, but some of the current events and political themes and all do creep in at times, like I want to show women as powerful people, and that people should respect and listen to what their say is. Another thing that I want to talk about, there are shared principles between art and medicine, and both are about understanding human nature, alleviating pain, and promoting well-being. And my neuroscience research taught me, and I'm still exploring it more and more and talking about it also, is that art affects the neuroplasticity of your brain, which is like any kind of injury or stress or trauma. Your brain has the capacity to regenerate, and practicing any kind of art, it doesn't have to be visual art, it can be music, dancing,
Mhm.
cooking, knitting, sewing, whatever the person wants.
Yep.
It helps decrease the cortisol level, the stress level, and it releases the healthier neurotransmitters like dopamine, which help you deal with the situation and calm you down. And if these kinds of practices are assimilated in daily life, just for a few few minutes, like 10 minutes, 2 or 3 times a week, just to let yourself go and lose yourself into getting your whatever is burning you up down on paper or
Yeah.
paint or writing or music or whatever, it helps you deal and go forward in a more productive fashion.
Yeah, I totally get that. I'm a creative person myself, and in school, high school and college, it was all art, advertising, design, and that's why I kind of love the artistic side of what I do in business. But
Mm.
that's still work, right? Putting together my website page is still work. And so when I have time or when I create time for myself, I do rock painting. So I love painting rocks. It's kind of like my painting therapy, my rock therapy. It's funny too because I went to Chicago a couple weeks ago for the holidays, and I brought a bag of rocks so me and my grandkids could paint
Yeah,
them. Because in Chicago, I thought it was going to be snowy, and I'd brought my rocks with me, but I had a really tough time in security, so they wouldn't let me get through with the rocks. I had to go through security with them. But little side note, but I just wanted to share that because I know how important that time is for me to have that creative outlet, no matter what it is, because everybody's going to have their own creative outlet. Some
yes,
people aren't really good artists, but they still have something that allows them to let their creative expression flow, or like what you said before, maybe have beautiful art around them. So
yes.
that helps with their neurology to be more calm and centered and grounded and healing.
Yeah. I'm so glad you raised the point because, looking at art is also therapeutic.
Mm.
And my paintings are intended to create healing environments. For example, the colors I choose, the forms I create are all based on the neuroscience of how the colors also affect your mind and give you some comfort. So this kind of serenity, I have some works in hospitals, in corporate environments, in colleges, in public spaces where people, if they are exposed to it, and I'm sure there are other artists who do it too, they're exposed to it and find comfort. Like in a hospital, if you're facing some kind of bad news and you're in a sterile environment, or you feel more depressed.
Yes.
But if you have something that you can look at and wonder about what it means and why is this color that, and you can lose yourself into something else and find some different kind of comfort
Hmm.
while you assimilate any kind of stress or bad news.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Even if you don't even recognize you're doing it, I think just looking at it and just having that in front of your eyes and letting that enter into your brain still, I would assume, I'm no doctor, but I would assume that would still make a
Yeah,
huge difference.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So, want to ask you, I know you have a great resource that you want to share with our audience, but before we get into that, I want you to take a moment and maybe share some words of wisdom or advice to somebody out there right now, because, or, our audience in general, but I'm sure there's one or two people out there right now who are considering a career change and doing that where they can actually like dive into art in some way, whatever that looks like for them, whether it's painting, whether it's dancing, whether it's I don't know, anything, but can you share some advice to them if they're maybe contemplating that?
sure. Um, I think one has to believe in oneself to know that they have capacity to be creative, and
Mm,
in whatever way. They don't have to be an artist, but anybody considering a career change or exploring new creative outlets is to follow your own curiosity, your passions, whatever form it is, art, music, writing, or another shift in totally a profession. But it allows us to, if you follow your heart and express the emotions, then you will be able to handle it in a more fruitful and productive way. And I encourage you to view creativity not as a talent, but as a practice that can help with emotional regulation, stress relief, and even personal growth. And look at the process. Don't look for perfection. Don't say that you have to achieve the peak of second career, right away, but
yes.
you have to take small baby steps and certain risks. And sometimes taking those risks is where you find the window you were looking for that allows you to leap into what is going to be better for you or give you better, more fulfillment than what you're doing at present, in case you find it necessary to do that.
Yeah. So, kind of off script here, but do you feel everybody has some sort of a creative side? So I know there's a lot of people that are very, very analytical and they will claim that there's not a creative bone in their body. What do you
Yes.
think about that?
I think it's a myth. There are so often people will say, I can't even draw a line.
Yeah.
You don't have to draw a straight line, draw a curved line.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want to, but whatever way you can de stress yourself, whether it's just doodling or zentangling or even writing some words that are bothering you and putting them down on a journal or paper, will let you let off some of that steam or
Mhm.
whatever is that is stressing you, and let you deal with whatever you need to face in a more productive way.
Yeah. That makes sense. I know I've been painting rocks for a couple years, and I have people over, like friends over, girls over, and we have rock painting parties, and we'll have,
Yeah.
little snacks and drinks, and some I've had a couple people that are like, well, I'm not going to paint. I'm just going to come out and hang out. And we're like, that's fine. But they paint and their rocks look terrible, but they realize that they still had fun because
Yes.
it's not about the result. It's about
Oh,
the journey and the process. So if you kind
okay.
of just embrace the experience of it and
Yes.
realize, just sometimes just getting that rock all messy with different color paints and it doesn't have to look pretty, but you can still have fun with it.
Yes. That exactly. It's the process of having fun and forgetting about some of the other things that you need to forget temporarily
Yeah. And it
is
taps
what
into a different part of our brain,
yes,
right? So it taps
totally.
into a part of our brain that we don't necessarily always tap into.
Yes,
Yeah.
totally. It's the forebrain that, we need to tap into, and also a process called cingulate process, which is a reward center. So even if you make a messy painting, it's your baby. You made it and you had fun doing it. That's what is most important. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, you have a great resource that you're going to share with our audience, and I want to thank you. I had a chance to look at it, and it's just amazing. So it is a downloadable PDF, How to Select and Display Art Like a Pro. So you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure, I can, but it is in the show notes. So when you look at it, I have some artworks on walls and spaces, and it gives you some tips about how to hang and
Okay.
keep art. So
Great. Like where to
I'm
hang
sure
it.
when
So
they read it, they will enjoy that.
yeah, so when you have this beautiful art and you see this blank wall or you see a wall with stuff on it, like where do you put it? Like, I know actually, you can't see it right now. I have a background, but when we came into this house, there was one really cool picture on the wall, but it was like up so stinking high. And
Yes.
so to be able to have a guide on what's right, because we don't know, but our mind knows when it's wrong, right? And so you want to make sure that you have it all
Yes.
in the right place. And so that resource, I think, is going to be really helpful for people.
Yeah. Some very practical tips are in there. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Vasu. This was a great conversation. I want to thank you for being on the show. You are one of the authors in our Mastery Unleashed book. And so, if you're in the audience right now and you want to learn a little bit more about Vasu, definitely check out her website because I know she's got a lot of her art there that you can actually just buy, right? And you'll ship it to somebody if they see something that really resonates with them. Correct, Vasu?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so check out her website, get a hold of her. She would love, I know, to autograph a copy of her book that's just going to be out. Well, right now, when we are recording it, it's going to be out in 2 days. However, by the time this show airs, the book will be out for a little while, and she'll have her inventory of books. And so, if you get a hold of her, I'm sure she would love to autograph a copy and send it on its way to you, along with one of her art or just by itself. And if you want to get her resource, definitely click the link in the show notes, and that will take you to our gift vault. So you will not only get her amazing free resource, but you'll have a whole collection of other gifts that our past and future guests have shared. So save the link. You can come back anytime because we're always collecting some pretty cool things from the audience, no, from not the audience, from the guests that we have on our show. So thank you, Vasu. I really enjoyed this. And I want to thank all of you for being a part of our Mastery Unleashed journey. Please go to whatever platform you listen if you have not yet and show us some love. We love getting reviews. We love having feedback. And the more we can really just elevate our show, the better chance we have of continuing to get amazing guests like Vasu. So thanks everybody, and we will see you next week.
Yeah. Thank you, Christy.
Thank
Yeah.
you.